Alternate custom finishes, auxiliary sloping and cricketing, sheet metal flashing. The Pli-Dek and the Con-Dek ICCES systems require the proper flashing details in order to ensure that a waterproof transition takes place. Without proper flashing and detailing, the waterproof decking system will be compromised by allowing water infiltration beneath the decking system. The following sheet metal flashing details provide an overview of common transitions. It is impossible to provide all potential flashing situations that may be present in the field. So if there are any flashing transitions that are not covered in this video or in Pli-Dek's published details, please contact Pli-Dek for proper instructions. All sheet metal flashing needs to be a minimum 26 gauge galvanized bonderized metal. Stainless steel can be used in lieu of galvanized if a project requires an upgraded metal. All sheet metal flashing needs to have a minimum of 4-inch overlap with an approved urethane caulking embedded between any two pieces. Flashing needs to be installed at the lower end of the assembly first so that each adjoining piece has the proper overlap and will not buck water. Bucking water could allow water infiltration behind the flashing and create a source for water intrusion. Soldered flashing seams are considered acceptable if a project does not allow caulk joints. When installing sheet metal over a concrete surface, it is recommended that the 90-degree angle of the sheet metal be extended to about 110 degrees. This will allow the flashing to be spring-loaded and therefore require less ram-set nailing. Sheet metal flashings at the wall-to-deck transition should be nailed vertically at each adjoining wall stud. The horizontal leg of the sheet metal over plywood application needs to be sporadically attached until such time as the expanded metal lath is stapled in place, whereas the lath will be stapled approximately every 2 inches. The horizontal leg of the flashing over concrete decks needs to be attached so there is no deflection. All sheet metal needs to be thoroughly cleaned with a solvent or vinegar prior to the application of the Pli-Dek product to ensure that the material is free from oils or any other contaminants. Pli-Dek recommends that the finish coats of the decking system be applied to all exposed sheet metal to provide additional protection and an aesthetic appeal. Fascia metal. If the deck drains to an open outside edge, fascia flashing will need to be installed. A determination must be made whether the fascia metal can be installed flush with the fascia board or if a plywood or a nailer needs to extend the deck so that the stucco or siding can continue under the fascia metal. Pli-Dek requires that the fascia flashing have a minimum 4-inch horizontal leg and a 2-inch face edge with a 1/4-inch drip. No more than a 3/16-inch rise should be used as a gravel stop for the Pli-Dek system, and a 1/8 or no rise should be used for the Con-Dek installation. The 3/16-inch rise in the fascia metal will accommodate the finished Pli-Dek system thickness and provide a clean transition on the outside edge. When fascia metal is used at a stairway to landing junction, it is recommended that the fascia metal be face nailed to minimize excessive deflection. At all locations that fascia metal adjoins wall metal, an extension flashing needs to be installed to extend 4 inches past the fascia to wall intersection. This intersection metal allows proper transitions for the installation of the building paper and prevents water intrusion at this vulnerable intersection. Wall-to-deck flashing. Pli-Dek requires that all wall-to-deck transitions be flashed with a 2x6 L metal. This metal should include a 2-inch horizontal leg and a 6-inch vertical leg. It is the industry standard that the exterior wall contractor install a stucco stop or J metal to properly terminate the wall system. It is critical that the stucco stop be installed 2 inches above the finished deck surface. It is the approved Pli-Dek applicator's responsibility to apply the finish coats up the 2 inches exposed sheet metal at the wall-to-deck transition. Doors. At all door openings, Pli-Dek recommends door pan flashing for both the Con-Dek and the Pli-Dek systems. The door pan extends on the deck surface at minimum of 2 inches, continues vertically up the threshold, across the door threshold plate, and terminates with a 1/2 inch vertical rise at the back side of the threshold. This pan metal creates a dam-like effect and ensures that the water does not infiltrate under the threshold and behind the decking system. When the threshold is installed, it should be embedded in a urethane caulk and installed to properly join the backside vertical rise of the pan flashing. Wood post flashing, deck penetrations. All deck penetrations require proper flashing as to ensure proper performance. Wood posts that are attached to the deck need to be flashed with a minimum 2x2 metal and be caulked with a urethane caulking behind the vertical leg. It is recommended that the post be kerf cut to receive a counter flashing to provide additional protection. Stair flashing. Before the fascia metal is installed, a determination must be made as to the wall coating system's thickness that the fascia metal needs to extend over. At wall-to-stair transitions, individual stair pan flashings are required. These stair pans should extend 4 inches above the riser and 4 inches past the tread in order to create a proper overlap. This flashing is installed by starting at the bottom of the stairway and working your way up each progressive step. It is important that the adjoining skirt board or wall be properly enforced with solid wood backing so that the wall flashing can be tightly nailed so as to hide the seams in the finish coat application. At open-end stairs, fascia metal is used at the risers as well as the treads. Once again, this fascia flashing needs to be installed by starting at the bottom of the stairway. Copper sheet metal detailing. Extreme caution and care must be taken to ensure that the galvanized metal does not come in contact with copper metal. If these two dissimilar metals come in contact with one another and are not properly detailed, electrolysis will compromise the deck coating by creating rust and extensive deterioration. Another electrolysis situation to be aware of is galvanized sheet metal that comes in contact with an aluminum, such as thresholds. Pli-Dek recommends that the galvanized sheet metal be fully coated in Pli-Dek material before any aluminum door threshold is installed. This situation also occurs in the Pli-Dek underlayment system for concrete when the T-bar to fascia metal transition requires a spacer to be used to separate the two dissimilar metals. Please refer to Pli-Dek's details for this application. If copper flashing or metal is used, it is imperative that the metal be attached with either copper or stainless steel nails. Be extremely cautious as to ensure that copper metal never comes in direct contact with galvanized lathing, sheet metal, nails, or staples. Copper flashing needs to be cleaned with a solvent such as acetone, xylene, paint thinner, or vinegar. In areas where copper metal is used with the Pli-Dek ICC system, it is imperative that the fiberglass and the PD resin be installed completely over the horizontal leg so as to create a barrier between the galvanized metal lath and the copper metal. The fiberglass mat and the PD resin should cover the copper metal and then extend onto the deck surface approximately 6 inches. This application should thoroughly dry prior to the Pli-Dek base coat application. The 2.5 galvanized lathing needs to be attached with stainless steel nails, not galvanized staples, at all areas that are going to penetrate the underlying copper metal. Drains and scuppers. When installing waterproof deck coatings, it is imperative to assess how the assembly is going to provide proper drainage. In applications such as enclosed decks, it will be necessary to provide either scuppers, deck drains, or both, as well as an overflow requirement. Deck drains are necessary with the Pli-Dek ICC system. Pli-Dek provides a brass drain that is fully soldered to a galvanized sheet metal flange that interfaces with the deck system seamlessly. These drains are available in 2 and 3 inch diameters, and they have a removable drain cap that allows for future service. It is important to continue the Pli-Dek material all the way to the brass fitting to ensure corrosion does not take place. When the Pli-Dek underlayment system is installed in preparation for a concrete or masonry finish and deck drains are necessary, bi-level galvanized flange drain is used. This drain style allows drainage from not only the masonry traffic level, but also at the underlying waterproofing level as well. Deck drains for concrete decks. Deck drains that are installed in a concrete assembly should be no higher than deck level to allow for proper drainage. Fiberglass mat and the PD resin should be installed to wrap down into the bowl of the deck drain. There are many different styles of deck drains for concrete decks. Please contact Pli-Dek for specific instructions on proper installing and detailing. Scuppers. The project requires scuppers. Pli-Dek provides a detail that utilizes a galvanized 4x4 opening that takes into account the overflow requirement. The scupper should be built in such a way as to allow for a 4-inch overlap of the wall metal on either side of the scupper opening. The spout that extends through the wall should also have a sheet metal sleeve installed on the back side to accommodate a proper wallpaper transition. Scuppers should always be installed over the concrete substrate in a condeck system to allow for drainage at the waterproofing level. There are some situations that may arise when installing the condeck system that do not require the installation of sheet metal flashing, such as concrete decks to concrete walls, masonry planters that are built on a structural slab, and open ends of structural slabs. Contact Pli-Dek for written exceptions. Expansion joints and waterproofing assemblies. Expansion and control joints in concrete must always be honored during the application of the Pli-Dek system. If structural cracking is present, Pli-Dek recommends that a structural engineer be contacted for proper recommendations. Pli-Dek recommends that the Pli-Dek system be continued through control joints as to ensure that the fiberglass and resin fully bonds to the contour of the bull nose joint and caulked once the Pli-Dek system has been fully installed. Where cut control joints are present, Pli-Dek recommends that the joints be bull nose so that the coating can be properly tooled into the joint. On upper floor wood-framed walkways, it may be necessary for the installation of an expansion joint assembly in situations where common walkways adjoin separate buildings or intersect bridges or ramps. Please contact Pli-Dek for written instructions and proper detailing instructions. Pli-Dek ICC system, the waterproof